Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 5 of the anime series, Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. All kinds of sick, awesome, epic space battles. Already 5 episodes in, and we got the Barbados going up against Gallahorn Grazes and the bait and switch and all that kind of stuff. It was just epic, because at the forefront of it, are we seeing Orga's plan? You know, it's being set into motion, spiriting Cordelia at her Earth and all this kind of stuff as set up by Toto, who has completely sold them out with Orcus and with the Gallahorn, and it's just absolutely insane. You know, when they figure it out, at least they lay the smackdown on Toto. They give him a black eye and some bruises, and of course where they send him by the end of the episode. But the whole time I'm like, just throw him out an airlock, just make like Schwarzenegger on Mars and get him all bug-eyed already. Let him implode, explode, whatever it is. You know, because he's such a dastardly guy, and he's getting off on the idea of watching these kids burn, of watching them all murdered. And it's insane. It's absolute insanity. Of course, as we see, Coral, who is leading this move, this attack, he's a complete F-up. He even F's this up. You know, he has them all handed to them on a silver platter, thanks to Toto and thanks to the main Orcus guy. And he can't even get this to work out for his benefits, you know, because, of course, Orga, he's no small fry. He actually is a tactician. He's a strategist, and he's got, like, 3 major backup plans in case anything like this was to befall them, for Mikazuki piloting the Barbados and going up against those Gallahorn Grazes, to, you know, like Akihiro having the alternate vessel and all this kind of stuff. Like, it was just master tactician, planning ahead stuff. And, you know, you basically see even Eugene, who is this guy who's constantly mouthing off against everything Ulrika's putting into motion and all his planning and all this kind of stuff. Even he has to, like, just get into the thick of it by the end and help them with what I thought was, like, my favorite sequence in this whole battle. Not just the, you know, on again, off again Mikazuki in the Barbados piloting against, like, even Baudouin and Farid. Once they finally catch up, they end up in their own grazes and going after the Barbados. But my favorite sequence was Eugene's being integral in this sort of, you know, like, slingshot attack around this meteor. They use this meteor, and of course the Orcus guy is thinking the whole time they're going to try to just hide behind and get out of the way of fire, the line of fire. But no, in fact, they use it as a slingshot to arc right back around and jump right into Orcus's face and take them down. It's just, like I said, it's all kinds of awesome. And amidst this battle between Mikazuki and, of course, Farid and Baudouin, he's realizing who they are, and he's constantly referring to Farid as Chocolate Man because of the candies he gave the Biscuit's kids, kid sisters, and everything like that. And it was just all kinds of freaking awesome. And I found it quite interesting, actually, that, you know, we have Cordelia and Atra. Atra has signed on for this mission as a tentative cook. You know, of course, she wants to go along for this quest to be closer to Mikazuki and everything like that. But we have Cordelia very much showing a little bit more of that ambassadorial role. She wants to actually see what's unfolding. She doesn't want to, like, you know, hide her eyes from the battle that is ensuing and the deaths that will probably, you know, result. As we see, one of the chief sort of Gallahorn guys is this guy Ein, who's been out for the count for a while, and he's really got this personal sort of vendetta because of what happened to Crank, effectively. I don't think he's necessarily aware of what Crank did. The fact that Crank sort of sold himself out and killed himself, you know, because he didn't want to deal with this. And this guy's really taking it personally. You know, he wants to go and avenge Crank's death, and even to the point of sensing you know, when Crank's graze is being used in this battle, it's been commandeered, it's been repurposed, that sends him flying off the handle, of course. But, you know, Cordelia, I really respect where she's coming from. And one of the things that I found the most interesting in the comments, the conversation I've been having back and forth with the viewer, is the idea that what if Cordelia's motivations are a little bit less than peaceful in their impetus? What if, you know, we find there's this twist coming, that she is actually meant to be a proponent of war and revolution, and she's just kind of using the Tekadon kids rather than this peaceful, flowery, you know, persona we have thus far come to know. Maybe it's not all innocence. Maybe it's not all just peaceful resolutions on her sort of docket list. Maybe it's going to Earth and, being a proponent of war, saying we are going to raise our factions against you unless you commit to letting us have our own freedom, our revolution, apart from your earthly governments and everything like that. And it could be really highfalutin and high tension and just lots of gravitas if that turns out to be the case, because thus far, as I say, she seems to be somewhat of a timid flower. She seems to have an idea of what she's doing, but she's been having to find herself. And it could very well be that the strength she's trying to find within herself is not necessarily the strength to be that peaceful ambassador, that extension of that olive branch to the earthly governments and everything like that. It could be that she is, in fact, the sort of, herald to a whole new oncoming war. Something in sort of the same kind of level of the Calamity War that they keep calling back to and everything like that. And that, to me, is mind-boggling. If that's going to end up being the case, it could be quite hella compelling if it turns out to be the case. And so, yeah, I mean, this episode, it's the first stage of this trip to Earth. And, of course, for the time being, Ortega and Tekkadan have managed to allay and assuage the attacks, the oncoming attacks from Galahorn and, all that kind of stuff. And as I say, if you watch to the end and Toto's sitting there, he's got the words written on him. I think this is one of yours. Do with them what you please, I absolutely lost it for that. I love the fact that even Farid, because Farid knows what kind of a stinky, Coral has been. It's expected, he already figured out that was what that was all amounting to, put it that way. And it just cracks him up, and it cracked me up that much more. I was already laughing, but then he starts cracking up. I'm like, hell yes. Because he's actually impressed by Tekkadan and what they've been doing. And also just finding it hilarious how big of an F up, as I say, Coral was and is. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 5 of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. This was definitely, I think, my favorite episode thus far. Just being able to see Ortega coming, raising to the challenge of all these oncoming ambush attacks and having these backup plans, again, being such a tactician and earning the trust of people, even down to like Eugene, like I say, the guy who's constantly been just irksome and voicing his disapproval and all this kind of stuff about everything Ortega's been doing and planning, and even he has to go along with it by the end. And there's an appreciation there, there's almost like a handshake there by the end between Eugene and Ortega. It all comes home, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. So yeah, as I say, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Love having that conversation. That'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.